Before we get started, I thought it was wonderful that we have a sponsor for this presentation, especially being that we have grad students in the room, potential grad supervisors. It is never too soon, too late to start getting involved with our campus partners and our corporate partners. Believe it or not, as a grad student, I had the opportunity to redesign and choose and pick out the furniture and the fabric and all those types of things for my building when I was supervising an apartment building. So it is an option. It is a possibility. So like build those relationships early. Stop by the corporate partners session today. I hope you got the chance to stop by yesterday. So definitely get that experience in. But short plug there. So again, my name is Ashley Owens, and I'm here to talk to you about grad professional development. So welcome to the GA Pit Stop, and we're going to talk about your Pro Devo tune-up. So before we get started, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about myself. My name is Ashley Owens. I prefer she, her, hers pronouns. I'm an area coordinator at the University of Richmond, but I want to talk to you a little bit more about who I am. I want to do that so that you can kind of understand the lens I'm coming from and who I'm speaking from as my authentic self. I'm a Black woman. I identify as a Black and as a woman, as a female. Those two identities merge together and simultaneously show up in my life every single day. As I mentioned, I'm an area coordinator for the University of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia, where I have been here for all of, I think, about 7-8 months now, and it's a wonderful institution and state. I am a boy mama. I am a parent. I have been a mother for also about like 7 months. So that is a huge part of who I show up as an area coordinator and a Black woman. A parent partner practitioner, PPP. So living my life and doing that as being a mother, as a partner, and figuring out how that kind of intertwines with higher ed and living in the res life world. And then lastly, and more importantly for today, I am a grad advocate. I've been labeled as that, and I own that title. I love advocating for grads. I've served in multiple capacities that have allowed me to advocate for grads. Last year, I was the chair of the grad involvement committee for SEAHO. So I've spent a lot of time developing my skills, developing my knowledge to be able to best serve grad students in this profession, in this field, and in res life. Oh, and that is my lovely son, Isaiah, there. So during this workshop, and mind you, I put the word workshop there because this is not necessarily meant to be a presentation. This is meant to be something that we're working on together so I can help you develop some skills so that you can work on this in your own respective areas. So during this presentation, attendees will learn and discuss what professional development is and what it means to you. We will also explore ways to take inventory and synthesize your GA experience. You'll also learn how to create your own professional development plans. So I want you all to feel free. I want you to get real comfortable with everybody in the room. Feel free to unmute your screens and let's talk about where do you feel your professional development is right now. Whether you're a grad or a professional or a supervisor, that's completely fine. I want to hear if anyone has any feedback. Feel free to drop it in the chat if you want to as well. But let's talk a second. Where do you feel you are with your professional development right
now? I'll go.
Yeah.
For myself, I feel I'm probably right in the middle. It's my last semester before I graduate. And I think because I'm closer to graduation, I feel almost less that I have professional development, even though I know I do. But I think the closer you get, the more nervous you are. And I'm like, oh gosh, am I ready? Is my resume great? Is my cover letter great? I don't know. And so go a little spiral for a minute. But I think I'm right in the middle right now. And then I think closer and closer and closer that I get in the next month or two will be a lot more intense as like our grad curriculum at UNF is more focused on professional development and getting us out of the nest, pushing us away. Very sad. But that's where I feel like I am.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Maddie. Who else would like to share?
I can go ahead. I'm Casey Weaver. I'm an assistant dean of student care and well-being at Georgia Southern University, former housing professional, which is why I'm on this conference, just actually switched over from housing to dean of students office. But I think being in the profession for as long as I have, that I've come to realize that my professional development is in my control and that I have to take that control. And so I think I'm comfortable with it, but now it's trying to figure out how to find those sessions and carve out the time to do them with everyday life. And so I think that the hard part that I'm struggling with is finding the time, especially in the world that we live in right now, to give it the dedication and the focus that it needs at times. And so I know there's resources out there and I know how to find them, but it's not the time piece is the issue that I'm struggling with.
I understand. Thank you. You have time for like 2 more.
I'll go next.
Yeah.
I think for hi everyone, my name is Rochelle. I am a first-year grad student at NSU, but I work at UL Lafayette. So I would say my professional development meter is about on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 2 or maybe a 4, just for the fact that I started grad school last fall, and my first pro deal was supposed to be in NASPA 2020, but unfortunately COVID happened. So I was excited. My coworkers hyped me up for all the connections I was gonna make, and I didn't get to do any of that, you know? So personally, I'm looking for the social interaction to meet other people, see what their experiences are like, and then, you know, just to get on to the talk with the president, just watch the presentation. And as an introvert, you know, I hear the presentation and everything, but I'm like, I still want the interaction. So I'm hoping, you know, since it's still maybe a year or so left, that, you know, COVID gets better, we get to have more face-to-face interaction, and I get to have more, I can make more connections. So.
Thank you. And one last, does anyone else want to share? Well, great. Well, I'm really happy you all shared with me where you're feeling about your professional development. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll at least have some direction of maybe what to do next or where to restart. Or I know this is geared towards grads, but this is definitely some information that you can take to kind of redevelop where your professional development is going as professionals as well. So let's kind of talk about professional development. So welcome to the pit stop, and you're gonna learn about what PIT stands for in a little bit, but let's pull over, take a look under the hood, and talk about what I believe professional development is, okay? I think professional development is personalized, or what it should be, personalized, intentional, and timely, okay? And let's talk a little bit more about what that means. So personalized. So when you're thinking about your professional development, as grad students, I want you to start by taking a skill inventory. So take a minute, look at the different things that you have been able to accumulate as far as your skills. Look at things and lists from ACUI standards, CAS standards, ACPA, NASPA. Look at the skills that they list that new professionals should have when they enter into the field. Take some time, write down the skills you're good at, write down the ones you've never heard of, write down the ones that you're like, I think I've dabbled in this, but I don't feel confident enough to teach it, right? So I want you to take inventory, learn about yourself, figure out and be honest about what skills you can actually put as the ones that I have toned and owned. Kind of explore your passions. What are your interests? Not every single thing that you professionally develop has to be directly related to whatever job you want next. Take some time to figure out, what is it that I'm passionate about? I am incredibly passionate about grad students right now, but I am not necessarily supervising grad students in my position anymore. So those are things that I'm diving into for professional development because I have a passion or an interest for it, not necessarily it directly relates to my trajectory, right? So thinking about those things, and those things are going to be what get you out of bed to go to work every day. What, like SEAHO, you are all here to professionally develop, I hope. This is something that should rejuvenate you and really give you a good push and drive to give back to our students every day. So find those things out about yourself, find out what you have passion for, also find out what you don't have passions for. So that's a really good thing to experiment with as well. Learn things that you don't like, because they also point you towards the things you do. So take some time to learn about yourself there. So I mentioned skill inventory, passions and interests. Those are all about you, all about what you are on the inside, what you've figured out. As I talk about the experiences log, and these are all aspects of a potential workbook that I'll share with you at the end of the presentation. But the experiences log, when I mentioned that, this is something I wish I had done a lot more as I began my profession in the field. There are going to be so many different things that you do as a professional that you need to remember, right? You need to be able to reflect on. You need to be able to explain it in an interview. You need to be able to look back on it so it can help you prepare you for new experiences. So as you are going through different things, when you're on duty, when you're in meetings, when you're getting tapped for a project, when you are talking with students and figuring out different situations, when you're problem solving, take some time, journal, write these things down, create a log that you build a habit and you're going back on over and over. Building habits is hard, right? So it's not something that's going to come naturally right away, but I promise this will help you in the long run. As you are job searching like Maddie is, you're going to want to look back on these things because those interviews, they're going to ask you, well, tell me about a time, explain the situation, go back and look at this experience and how did that shape you? You're going to want to know and be able to pull from those experiences the best way that you can to prepare you for what's next, not only to get the job, but when you're in the job, perform like you have confidence to be able to approach and challenge anything that comes at you, okay? So create that experiences log, create that habit, and build upon that every day. And then lastly, I talk about your pit crew. So you've pulled over, you're like, I need maintenance ASAP. Who are those people that are gonna pour into you? Who are those people that are gonna like fix you up and say, hey, your crown is crooked, I need you to fix it? Who are those people who are gonna hold you accountable? Identify those people, let those people know that they are a part of your pit crew, and then lean on those people every now and again when you need them. It is super important to have a tribe that will push you, hold you accountable, and really cheer you on every step of the way. Because without that, we need those people to keep moving forward, right? We need those people so that we can definitely be confident and just have a good spirit about you as you are completing these things. So that is personalized, all right? So we're gonna talk about intentional. Intentionality is my jam. I love intentionality with everything that I do, okay? So I understand though, there's a flip side to intentionality. There are those who enjoy being spontaneous. There are those that you're going with the whim. You don't want to be tied down to a plan. I totally understand that. And that is totally okay. But I want you to keep these questions in mind as you're going about that, right? Making sure that you have some kind of connection to where you want to be. So think about, what do you aspire to be and where do you aspire to be in the next 2 years, for those of you who may have just started grad school, the next 5 years, where do you want to be as a new professional? Do you still want to be in this field? Do you not? Those things can also change. So allowing for flexibility, allowing not to be tied down to a specific plan. That's something I had to learn early and quick. Not everything is going to go the way that you planned it to go. So you have to be ready with like things about yourself, learning about yourself. That's why I'm going to harp on that a lot during this presentation. Also, we talked about the skill inventory earlier. Thinking about how can you be intentional, looking at the skills that you're really strong in, and strong meaning, can you fully, confidently teach this skill to someone else? That is what I think of being strong in that skill. But thinking also on the flip side, what skills do you need improvement on? What things do you need to put in practice more? I know something early on I was really not confident in was writing articles. What are ways that I can improve and practice that skill? Learning how to write grants. Those are things grad students don't think about, but those are going to be some skills you might need in a future position. So toning those skills and figuring out how can I get better at them is something you can intentionally work on during your grad experience. And those are also ways you can tap into different people, tap into mentors, into networks and things of that nature. So definitely be intentional in using your time wisely in regards to that. And then lastly, as you're thinking about the different experiences and opportunities you want to accomplish or take on, think about institution types. How many institution types have you already worked in? What kind of school did you go to as an undergrad student? What kind of school do you want to potentially work on when you leave grad school? And if you don't know, that's okay. Try to get those experiences or talk to people who have worked at different types of institutions so that you can learn a little bit about the different types and figure out what is going to be the best fit for you when you land on your feet after grad school. Think about student populations and functional areas. I know potentially we're all here for the SEAHO conference, but not all of us may be interested. I know Casey just mentioned is switching over from a functional area. We not all not be in Res Life for life. That is okay. I didn't think I was going to be, but yeah, here I am, and that's all right. But think about that and understand that functional areas may change, right? You may want to switch over to one eventually. So start to open your horizons, open your mind to be able to learn about different functional areas as well. And student populations and figuring out people, right? What kind of mentors do you want to be around? What kind of team do you want to be a part of? What kind of culture do you want to be a part of? Those are things that if you don't think about them early enough, those could be things that make you not enjoy the places that you're working at, make you not ask enough questions when you're interviewing to land in places that you can stay at, but it also leads to leaving the field, right? We want you to be joyful. I want you to have joy when you're going to work. I want you to feel like this is where I belong. And also understanding when you no longer belong there. And that's something to understand as you leave grad school and enter into your new professional life as well. So as we move from personalized to intentional, and then last we're going to talk about timely. So I have marked out the timeline of a grad student here, but mind you, we have some new professionals, mid-level professionals in the room as well. First year as a grad student, you are probably observing and absorbing all of the different things that grad life is probably giving you. You are in classes, it's your first time working and doing class at the same time, full-time, half-time. So this is your time to open your eyes, open your mind, be a sponge, absorb everything that is around you, people, classes, trying to take the things from classes and put them into your assistantship. It's okay to not take on a whole lot your first year. That is okay. Please understand, give yourself grace. I did not, and I am telling you from experience, take your time, okay? As you enter into your summer experience, you're gonna want to maximize the summer as much as possible. I know assistantships and internships look a little differently right now during the summer. You know, we've talked about the KUI and NODA and things, and NACA and all those types of different internships. Experiment and explore as much as possible. If you get the opportunity to physically go to that internship, explore, get to know the area, get to know the institutions in that area, this is your time to also network and experiment with different things in different functional areas, learning about the institution as a whole, setting up meetings. This is your time to really explore and experiment with your new environment. So you've come back from your summer experience, right? And you're in your third semester. And this is your time. That semester is where most students feel confident enough to branch out a little bit. You feel confident enough to, like, I've kind of owned what I'm doing right now, and I can take on a little bit more responsibility. So this is your time to think about all that work that you've done, learning about yourself, learning about what you're interested in, analyze all that information, synthesize it, and now maximize on it. This is your time to take on, not necessarily too much, right? Understanding where your level is, where your cap is, but maximize that time so that you can start building those experiences, building those skills so that you're ready for your fourth semester. And as probably Casey can mention to you, this is when you Maddie, tone and prepare. This is where you are preparing, you're prepping yourself, you're toning those skills, those little skills you found out, like, oh, I like this job, but they're missing this one aspect I should probably learn a little bit more about. This is that time, okay? Don't necessarily stop professionally developing yourself in your fourth semester just because you're job searching. Take care of yourself and make sure you're prioritizing your job search, yes, but the professional development does not stop, ever. As you are a CHO, as you are a dean of students, all of that professional development continues until it doesn't, right? Till you have retired. And even though you should still be learning and figuring out all those type of things on how to live life, right? So your fourth semester is about toning and preparing yourself to fly off into the new professional world. So we've left the pit stop and you're ready to get going, to get grooving, right? I want us to stop for a second. I want us to think about some things that may affect how we now look at professional development. Yes, COVID has essentially taken over, but you don't have to let it, okay? It may seem how it's changed everything. We can be incredibly pessimistic about it, but the way I see it, we just now have to think differently. Okay, we have to think differently. We have to think outside the box because the job search doesn't stop. Grad school doesn't stop. Higher ed doesn't stop. So we have to allow COVID to, yes, do what it's doing, and it's affecting a lot of people's lives. But you have control of how it affects you, and you have control of what you do with it now, right? So let's think about some different virtual opportunities. You have webinars, right? You have mentors, and if you don't have mentors, you can find one, right? You have podcasts. There's Clubhouse that presents a lot of different topics and conversations where you can listen to professionals talk about those things. Books. We forget about books, right? I know you're reading books for grad school and everything, right? But pick up a book about something that you're passionate about. Pick up articles, write articles about things that you're passionate about. There are different workshops such as this one and elsewhere on websites such as ACUI and NASPA and ACPA. So look into those things, but also at your own institutions. Check out what the professional development departments at your institutions are offering. It may not directly relate to your field right now, but there are ways that you can make it relate to your field, right? Those are tangible, transitional, and transformational skills that you can pick up from your own institution. Also, there are other classes you can take. I know ACUI has a bunch of classes that you can log into and to take to be able to professionally develop yourself. Those are all virtual opportunities that you don't have to do in person, right? It's a long list. So definitely think outside the box, be creative. If you don't see it, make it, okay? If you don't see it, help someone find it. But let's not let COVID take over our professional development, all right? Pro Devo funds. They may not exist, right? Financially, COVID has definitely affected that aspect of our world. So grow for the low. Figure out what you can do to necessarily find. A lot of the ones that I just mentioned cost absolutely nothing, right? What you're doing today, SEAHO was privileged enough to be able to cost nothing to you. So definitely take advantage of that, be able to go to as many sessions. I know I talked about corporate partners earlier. Go and talk to them, learn from them. Some of them have been in the field before that. So go and tap into those people. And I know the mentorship program, if you're part of that, and if you're not, definitely try to be a part of that and find yourself a mentor here at SEAHO as well. So as we're stopping, we're also thinking about the new professional. The professional that institutions were looking for before COVID may have changed into a different professional that we're looking for now. We're looking for different skills that could definitely be able to help you as you are navigating COVID in our residence halls and in our departments for housing and things of that nature. So talk with your departments, talk with your supervisor, talk with your directors, learn a little bit about what does the new professional need to look like now, right? What do I need to be able to, what skills do I need to be able to have to best put me in the right position to serve the institution while COVID is in our midst? And then lastly, think about what is your destination? Where are you trying to get to? What is your end goal? If you don't know, that is okay. Have grace with yourself to be able to challenge yourself to learn more about yourself, to be able to understand what you believe your destination to be, but also have grace and understand that your destination can change. My destination has changed about twice now, and that's okay. It just changes my path, and I will take a different path and different skills and figure out what do I need next. You haven't lost any time or anything in regards to figuring out the skills you've learned before your destination change. Those are still on your tool belt, and you never know when you'll need to use them. So try to figure out your destination, and if it's not coming to you, give yourself grace and go back to the drawing board and learn more about yourself. So as we slowly move forward, right, we've come from our stop, we're about to roll into the yellow light. Grad school is not a race. I know it's kind of ironic that I chose this topic and this theme, but I need you to understand that grad school is not a race. Professional development is not a race. Take your own pace. And I've just mentioned giving yourself grace, okay? Check your full tank. You need to check and see where your self-care levels are. Is your self-care non-existent? That's not okay. And I'm the only time I'm going to say that. But I'm going to challenge you to figure out what you can do to fill your fuel tank. Take some time, draw a box, fill in that box with every bit of fuel, everything that you do to take care of yourself. If the box isn't fuel, and if it's not full, you're not doing enough to take care of yourself. So continuously fill that and figure out what you need to do to keep yourself running. I do not want you to stop midway through and not finish into your grad school. I need you to be your best selves, and you need to take care of yourself for yourself so that you can make it. It is not a competition. I know in my view, I can see everyone to my left and my right and from the down and up. I am not competing with any of these people on the screen. You are not competing with any other grad student at your institution. There are enough diplomas to go around, I promise. They have not run out of paper. There are jobs in this institution. There's jobs in this field. Your job might not be the job that the person next to you is looking for. It might not even be the right job the person right next to you is looking for. When you're at TPE, the person who interviewed before you might not be right for that job, and you might be right for that job. So understand that this is not a competition, all right? You are who you are because of what you are made of and the experiences that have made you, and that is a different path than the path that someone else took. So understand that you are only competing with yourself. Keep making yourself better and improving yourself, and that is all you need to worry about, okay? And then lastly, I want to talk about adversity and resilience. There's going to be some things there are going to be some roadblocks. There are going to be some things that pop up and that you learn about yourself, like, wow, I didn't like that, so maybe I need to change course. Oh, wow, this has set me back a little bit. Maybe I need to figure out a way to get around it. But I want you to keep trying to figure it out, okay? I want to push you and challenge you, empower you not to give up. We are going to need to be able to bounce back. But yes, you need to take a minute, absorb what that happened, absorb those feelings of how that happened, how that made you feel, tackle it, sit with it for a minute. Now let's get up and see how we can make this better for ourselves. Let's see how we can use this experience to improve ourselves, and let's see how we can get this in the right track now for you. So resilience is very important, but I also want to definitely preach taking care of yourself, all right? So taking your time, go slow in this aspect, understand it's not a competition, make sure your fuel tank is full. And then lastly, I want to definitely give some time to have some questions, but I want to leave you with these three as you go and as you grow. Professional development is continuous. I know I talked about that earlier, but you will never stop professionally developing yourself. You will continue, and there's always skills to be learned. There's always different ways to use the skills that you need to learn. There's different pathways that you need to understand, different institutions, but more importantly, there's different students every single year. The student population changes, the culture of the student changes, the culture of our young people change. So there's always going to be things for us to learn about how we can best serve them. So, and that being said, never stop learning about yourself either. As you go through different institutions, as you have different jobs and things of that nature and responsibilities, there are things you're going to learn about yourself and how you respond to those things, what things are going to push you, what things drive you. Your drive and your passions may change, and they may adjust, and they may migrate. So continuously take time to take inventory, continuously take time to learn about yourself, and continuously take time to figure out what makes yourself drive and go in full force. And then lastly, never get discouraged, because if you do not see it, you have the ability to create it. So be able to take the time, empower yourself to be creative, empower yourself to think outside of the box. Give yourself the power to say, I can make this happen. Just because it doesn't see it, just because I don't see someone in this position, just because I don't see this type of opportunity, just because I've never seen it done, does not mean that it cannot be done and that you cannot be in that position or that that opportunity cannot exist. So take some time, invest in yourself, okay? Invest in the opportunities that you want and invest in your dreams. So now I'll leave some time. I think we have about a couple minutes, Justin, to ask for any questions. And I'll leave my email here. I do have a workshop and a workbook that is attached with this presentation. So feel free to reach out to my email if you'd like the workbook, so you can be able to work through these skills and these topics on your own. But I thank you all for engaging, and I will open the floor to any questions.
So I have a quick question. Hello, Ashley. So what is, and you may have covered it, but what are some tips and tricks to try to stay balanced, I guess, throughout this process?
Absolutely. So I think as you're probably in your second year and trying to stay balanced with, you have your job responsibilities, you have your class responsibilities, and then you have the responsibility to yourself to be professionally developing and job searching, right? So you need to understand and be transparent with yourself about what you have going on. This is not the time to try to fool yourself like I can handle it. It's not too much. You need to be real with yourself. Can I actually handle and tackle all the things I'm putting on my plate? Be transparent with your supervisor. Let them know these are my priorities right now. And if this is not the priority with you as my supervisor, how can we work together so that I can still make sure I have time for the things I prioritize? But that balance is going to come from practice, right? You need to figure out what is too much for you, your own threshold. And again, like I mentioned, just being real with yourself. I think practicing and being able to time manage, and not just time manage and fill all the hours of my day with things that are work related, but fitting in those times, like after 5 o'clock, when you have the time to go work out or eat or sleep or rest and turn your brain off. Do those things so that the next day you can wake up as rejuvenated as you possibly can be.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions?
Hey, Ashley, DeMarcus at VCU. What made you create this? It's an excellent tool, but what spurred you to say, okay, I think I need to put something together in order to, why?
Thank you. So I put this together because I noticed that, especially at conferences like these, the grad student is typically forgotten about, right? The grad student is not necessarily, they're in this weird limbo, like, am I a real professional? Am I not? Like, where do I fit into this world of professional development? And you're taught one thing in classes and you come into this space, and I want you to feel as if you belong here, right? So I did the presentation for that reason. But in regards to this workshop specifically, I believe it's important for us to understand the different aspects of professional development. There are so many different things outside of the things that we're taught in class, or just the things that, sometimes professional development in your institution or in your own department, if it's not benefiting the department itself, it might not be something that you can tap into. So I wanted to challenge everyone. I want to challenge grad students to be able to plan ahead and figure out, and more importantly, and I talked about this a lot today, learning about yourself. I think learning about yourself as a professional is super important, and we don't take enough time to do that. And I've seen a lot of different friends and colleagues leave the field because they had gotten themselves into positions or institutions that weren't necessarily a great fit for them. So they left the field. Nutrition is a big thing that we will soon learn about, but that's exactly why I did this presentation, because I really want grad students to take the time to learn about themselves so that they can get themselves in the best position or experiences possible, so they can take control of the wheel and understand themselves as they move forward.
Thank you. I came in a little late due to a prior meeting. Is this something that you advise? I'm preparing to supervise indirectly with some grad students. That's why I see this as an excellent tool. Would you advise graduate staff to utilize this like in a one-on-one with their supervisor, or with their graduate program advisor, maybe in preparation of trying to complete this document and this resource?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely something that can be worked on from the start to finish of a grad experience, and definitely one-on-one with the supervisor, so the supervisor can learn about the student as well. Sharing yourself with your supervisor with the things that you're working on in this workbook are also something I recommend, so that your supervisor can better learn how they can supervise you and how they can put you in the position to build certain skills, and put you in the position to be able to leave that institution learning as much as you possibly can. So I definitely think that one-on-one relationship with your supervisor, this tool can be used individually and throughout the entire grad experience. But I think a graduate plan and a professional development plan, like that goes for both grads and new professionals, mid-level professionals, working on a professional development plan continuously with your supervisor is highly recommended.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question, and if not, that's totally okay.
actually, you do have a question in the chat from
Okay.
Jonathan. What advice do you have for GAs who identify as people of color who are seeking support and guidance?
Absolutely. So for students and grad students who are people of color and you're looking for ways that you can professional development, I think that you should definitely look for ways to build mentorship. Definitely being able to, I know it's not that every day that we see people like us, that look like us in positions in which we're looking to accomplish. So there are times where that may be discouraging, but I want to challenge you to find your tribe. We talked about a pit crew earlier. Find those people around you and in your atmosphere and outside your atmosphere. In SEAHO, there's a large family of people of color that can definitely be a part of your pit crew and push you forward and mentor you and so that you can network with. So I definitely recommend getting a couple of people in your network that can help you and push you forward. But I also recommend that advocacy be a strong part of advocating about yourself, feeling confident with yourself, and to be able to advocate for yourself and learning what that looks like. Because a lot of the odds are that your supervisor may not necessarily look like you, right? Or understand your lived experiences or understand how all of those things intersect to who you are and who you're showing up in this space. So learning about yourself enough to advocate for yourself confidently to those people and to that supervisor that you have is something that I definitely learned, and that it really helped me as a person of color be able to identify opportunities and learn things and being put in the right position to honestly succeed. Awesome.
Actually, I don't have a question, but just to add on to that,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I would always recommend for people who are looking for experiences, whether it's working with people who are similar than you or finding those opportunities, is don't be afraid to look outside of student affairs for professional development opportunities as well. Because there are so many things that you can go to that may not directly correlate to student affairs, but you can pull things for and bring into student affairs. And that's one of the things that I've learned over my years is that, yes, what SEAHO does is great, what ACUI does is great, what NAFTA does is great, and we all get those resources and we all have those ties, but it's great to sometimes go to professional developments that are not within student affairs, because you get a different lens and you get a different opportunity and you get an opportunity to see new things that you might not have saw if you just stay in our realm of student affairs.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Casey. All right, well, if there's no more questions, I will stay on a little bit later if anyone wants to ask anything more one-on-one. But I thank you all so much for taking the time to engage with me today. Again, if you're looking for this workshop or this workbook, feel free to email me at aowens@richmond.edu, and I'll be happy to share it with you. But enjoy the rest of your SEAHO experience and definitely check out the corporate partners later on.